Awesome. Hello, guys. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, everyone, wherever you are watching right now. So, I just want to welcome you back to our episode of Search Engine Mastery. Ayan. Sorry, my audio was muted. Hold on. Yeah, by the way, to those of you, do you hear me, guys? Do you hear me clearly right now? Awesome. Thank you so much. So, by the way, this is the show for SEO and digital marketing. And Search Engine Mastery Podcast was launched to deliver high quality insights, business advice, and tips from the top SEO experts to the community. And this episode, we have Mad Singers. And I thank you so much, Mad, for having time for this episode. I really appreciate it. And it's a pleasure and honor to be speaking with you.
Yep,
So,
fantastic being here.
thank
Always
you.
love sharing.
Actually, it's been 3 years and 3 months during my last interview with you. And by the way, guys, those of you who doesn't know yet, uh, Mads is a management coach for like how many years now? And he's coaching large organization such as Shell, Coca-Cola, Xerox, IBM, and also work with entrepreneur, big companies, small companies, and a lot more. And by the way, Mads, he come to our office last 2 years ago at Outsource Sharks, and he's teaching our staff about leadership, management, and actually, Mads, the result was great. They learned a lot from you, all the team, and it's very exciting. And hopefully, you can come back here again.
Yep, it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun teaching the guys, and yeah, it's always, as I said, I love teaching, I love sharing, and I love helping people get better.
Thank you. Awesome. Thank you so much for that. Appreciate it. Yeah, since a lot of people in my network, some of you really knows you that you are an expert in SEO, leadership, management. To those of you who doesn't know yet, can you please tell me more about yourself, Sir Mads?
Yep. So yeah, my name is Mats, and I have been an entrepreneur for about 10 years, 11, 12 maybe. So I started coaching about 12 years ago. I started initially coaching while I was working in the corporate world. Started coaching other corporate managers on how to be a good boss. Reality is, particularly nowadays, I work mostly with entrepreneurs and sort of smaller, mid-sized companies. And reality is that most people who start a company nowadays have no experience in managing. And again, the shortcuts is very simple. If you get training, if you do development, then you learn, you grow a lot faster. And that's relevant both
Mm.
for entrepreneurs, but also very much for their teams, right? A lot of times when entrepreneurs are building up teams, they're getting in new managers. It's often people they're promoting from roles within the business. And doing that, often they also don't have any management skills or management training. So my core focus is really teaching that. My core focus is really helping bring not just the leader, but bring all the managers and all the leaders in the organization up to
Wow.
scratch to make sure that the company can grow effectively. So that's sort of my core passion. Also own a big outsourcing company, Aristo Sourcing. I run an SEO conference, the SEO Mastery Summit, which is taking place again here in April in Vietnam. So super excited for that. And we have a bunch of other businesses. So love running businesses, love building teams, and yeah, love seeing how that grows and succeeds.
Awesome. So this is our topic for today is how to build a strong SEO network from scratch. And you said earlier that you have a conference this coming April, and we are very excited about it. And for those of you who's going to attend this event, this is every single year, right? So it's a big conference there, and yeah, a lot of people are excited, and also my network as well. So we're going there soon. Thank you so much for
Yeah.
that. And I'm going to. We have some comments here from Angeles, exciting. MD, good morning. Watching from Kingdom, Saudi Arabia. Thank you so much. Esther, oh, my wife is watching as well. And Ricky, can you share some tips for building and nurturing strong relationship with cross-functional teams, such as developers, content creators, and designers?
Yeah. Well, we definitely can. So we can definitely get into that. So I think reality is, and this is the same with networking, honestly, with management. It's all about building relationships. A lot of people, when
Mm,
you look at networking, a lot of people go into a networking meetup or a conference and they're like, any clients here? Anyone that, can help me sell something? And people
mm,
just walk in with that mindset. And in my humble opinion, that's the wrong way to approach things, right? I
mm,
think most of the time when you're dealing with people, it's about finding what I call it great people, but finding people that I enjoy spending my time around. So finding
wow.
people that want to grow, want to develop, want to build things, right? And then building good relationship with them. The key thing is most good people have good networks. So the goal for me is never to sell to an individual. Like I never walk into a conversation with a goal of trying to sell them anything. My fundamental goal is to build strong relationship with good people and really utilize that to share who I am. Because reality is for most people to sell a product, to sell a service, to sell anything, that becomes so much easier if people know you and you're a good person. And if you actually, honestly or openly share about what it is you're doing, if people trust you, if people like being around you, even though they haven't used your services, they will generally be happy to refer you. And honestly, like inside a business, it's not that much different. So if you want the most out of your staff, it is fundamentally about building strong teams, right? And the biggest, the easiest, the simplest way of building good relationships with your team is treat them as humans, right?
Mm,
So if you treat your staff well, if you take good care of them, then they will enjoy it. They will like the work. They're more likely to like the work. They're more likely to enjoy working with you, and they're more likely to do it for a long time, right? So fundamentally, for me, when you're doing it internally, when you're looking at within teams, it's a simple fact. How can you get people together? How can you
mm,
get people to communicate? And a lot of times, companies are like, oh, but 40 hours, if we spend 15 minutes doing this thing, that's no good. But for building cross-functional teams and building good relationships, for me, like arrange, like if you're using Slack, for example, there's some
mm,
great plugins where you can actually, set up some random chats between people in different groups of your organization, right?
yeah.
So get spending and investing some time in getting people to know each other, right? Now, honestly, I do that naturally when I used to work in the corporate world. Like, I would put effort into getting to know a bunch of people in different departments than where I was, even when it wasn't really my responsibility or it wasn't my job to build a good relationship with them. But for me, it's if you want to succeed, it's all about relationships. It's all about building strong relationships. It's all about knowing people. Interestingly enough, like in the corporate world, you know, when I started a new place, like I would look at, who's the receptionist, who is the security guard, who is the HR people. Like I would always get to know them because reality
Wow.
is that most people are looking up in the world. They're like, yeah, who's more important than me? Who can I, get a benefit from knowing? But I looked at the other way around. Like very often you need someone's help somewhere. And if you know people around, if you know everyone and you have a good relationship with most people around you, then you're more likely to be able to get out of it what you want, right? So very often if you work in a company, sometimes people have problems getting in, or people have problems with whatever. If you have a great relationship with the receptionist, you're more likely to be able to fix that situation, right? So it's not about like planning and thinking, how can I benefit from knowing this person per se?
Mm.
It's simply just about building great relationships with great people and encouraging your team to do the same.
Awesome. What a great statement. Actually, we are also following what uh you're teaching us since you come here in the office. and it's very helpful. So we treat people as a human, and we are also providing them like 13th month pay. We also have the top employees of the month that we are doing, and we celebrated their wins. Like for example, if they have birthdays, we are also going to celebrate them with them, giving them food and those sort of things.
But
So yeah.
but birthdays are better in the beginning. As you get older, it gets less of a party. So
Yeah, I agree with that. Thank you so much. So, with our topic, how to build a strong SEO network from scratch. So, for those of you guys who doesn't know, can you please share what exactly does SEO networking mean and why is it important for businesses?
yeah, it's not SEO networking per se. It's about networking, right? So as I was just
Mm,
saying,
okay.
key thing for me is if you want to succeed in any job, in any business, in anything, one of the
Mm-hmm.
most important things you can invest time in is networking. It's getting to know people. And honestly, like networking doesn't have to be going at a big conference. It's often a great way to learn a lot of great people in person, which is great. But networking can be simple things. Like I know a lot of people who wake up in the morning and the first thing they do is add 3 people to the network. So what they do is they go in, find a couple of people that could be on Facebook, on LinkedIn, or whatever. Just look at their feeds and say, hey, I just read this post. It was super informative, or like add some more value, but really share something with them that makes sense. So find people that you want to connect to, look at what they're doing, reach out to them, and share some value with them around what they're doing, right? Like there's so many content creators out there, for example. People love getting feedback on their stuff, right? So again, don't say just good work, right? But actually share some insights. Share like, hey, I don't agree with that. I think, doing XYZ is way better, or the likes. Like doing that, you can really build some strong relationships. And a lot of the time, right, we are online, which means we are so close technically to a
Mm-hmm.
lot of other people. But very few humans actually spend time on building relationships. Like I probably like on LinkedIn as example, I probably had one message in the last 20 years with someone saying, hey, I see we're in the same city. I would love to go grab a cup of coffee. Or, hey, I see we're at the same event. Let's grab lunch or something. Like from total strangers, I've probably had 1 or 2 messages in total in the last 20 years saying that, right? Now,
Wow.
I've used it a ton.
Mm-hmm.
So when I've lived in many places all around the world, I've moved to places where I knew no people, and I had a very simple approach. If I go to a city that I know no one, I find 100 interesting people that live in a near proximity to me. LinkedIn is pretty easy for that, right? And literally just say, hey, I'm new in town. Do you want to grab a cup of coffee? And like when I first moved to the Philippines, for example, to Davao, like I did that with about 100 people. 50% probably think you're a super freak or weird, or why would you just meet a random stranger? But probably 25, 30 people actually wanted to go out for a cup of coffee. I met
Mm-hmm.
a whole bunch of people early on. I built a strong network early on. And, that enabled me to succeed when I first moved to the Philippines, right? If I had just moved there and been in my own little bubble, getting to know one person here, one person there, like I would not have been able to do what I'm doing. Uh, yeah, I wouldn't have been able to succeed in a way. And honestly, the same thing comes with conferences, right? Like if you can, like you don't have to have like a ton of knowledge for people to learn from, right?
Yeah.
But if you know a speaker that you think is great and you go to a conference, right? If you message them beforehand and say, hey, I'm super excited about your presentation about, I don't know, like content with AI, I would love to just, have a 5 minute chat with you at the conference, and I really look forward to meet you. Like you don't even have to get a commitment, but here's the thing. If you actually write to the person, you know what happens? They remember your name. So one, in most social things, right, you have a picture, so they likely remember your picture, but they'll remember your name, right? And if you actually walk up to them, if there's 5 people walking up to them and they see someone that they recognize, they are significantly more likely, one, talk to you, but also build more relationship. Because here's
Yeah.
the thing, even as a speaker, right? Like even when you're a speaker, if you walk off the stage and 10 total strangers walk up to you, Like even for a speaker, that's not the easiest situation in the world. They still have to put in effort to build relationships. They still have to think about what to say and so on, right? So if they see something familiar, if they see a friend of theirs, or again someone that they have communicated with online in the past, they're so much more likely to build an instant connection or build a great relationship with that person, right? So for me, definitely a lot of it is about being proactive, and it's about fundamentally, yeah, looking at what, not necessarily, again, what are you trying to get out of it, right? So don't message people and say, hey, I see you're selling this thing, can you help push my
Yeah.
product, right? Can you
Mm.
help sell my thing? Or like, yeah, asking for help sometimes is okay, but again, your goal is building relationships, because if you look around, always love using the same example, but if you say, hey, I'm moving from this house to this house, can you come help me move? Now, if I ask you that question, it's a very simple equation. How good a friend am I? Right? If I'm a great friend,
Yes.
you're more likely to say yes. If you hardly know me, you're like, well, why the hell should I go and help this guy move? Right? So fundamental is, if you need help in general, the more people you know well, the more people who see the good side of you, the more likely you are to get help, right? And the more likely you are generally to succeed, in my opinion, right? And there's a lot to be said to like hard work. Like networking is not about not doing hard work.
Mm.
Networking is taking the hard work you're doing and basically expanding that significantly. Because a lot of people are sitting doing great work in their little bubble, but no one knows about it, right? And I see
Yes.
this like at the SEO conference last year. Like I saw a lot of really smart people who were doing
Uh-uh.
some really brilliant stuff, right? And no one knew about it. But as soon as they started telling people what they were doing, suddenly a whole group of people started getting excited, right? A good example is the guy from autoblocking.ai. I first met him at a small event in Phuket, Valley, and he was telling people he was so excited about his product. He's like, yeah, I built this AI writer and so on, right? And the fact that he showed up at that event and shared with a few people built him, one, it got him a few more customers, but it built him some great connections that was fundamentally talking about his product. Then he came to the next event, to our SEO Mastery Summit. He talked to some more people. And very, very quickly, he had built some great relationships, right? He
Wow.
got some
Yeah.
investors. He got some different people coming in. But again, if he had been sitting at home working hard, he would very unlikely have had that same success, because he would likely, first of all, like people can talk about culture and all that sort of stuff, right? But
Mm.
fundamental, what happens with many people is that they're shy, right? Like even it's not a question of Asians; it's also the same in Western culture, right? Like if someone see a big name speaker, like they're afraid to reach out, they're afraid to do things. I remember in the beginning when I was first getting into this business, right? Like
Uh-uh.
I'll reach out to people that I didn't know, and I'll say, hey, I see you're doing this thing, super cool. Is there anything I can help you with? Right? Like I'll happily help someone for free, just give them some value
Reach
right
out.
off the point,
Mm.
because I was trying to build some relationships, right?
Yeah.
And if I could talk a little bit about a product, or so I had a few people come up to me and say, hey, I'm launching this product. You know anyone that like it? And I'm like, I'll go out and I'll often know a couple of people. I'll find two or three people and say, hey, here's three people who'd love to test the product. Like I might not even be the target audience. It might not be about me, but if I put in a little bit of effort to do something to help that other person, again, I'm not looking to get anything back per se, right? Like that's not my goal. But the thing is, when you build relationships, when you are networking, when you help add value to other people and their business and their life, then automatically what happens is obviously they appreciate you. And
Yes. I agree.
if they suddenly see someone who's a great client for you, they're significantly more likely to refer you, right? Or if they see
I
someone
agree.
who would be a good employee at your company, or God knows what it could be, right?
Awesome. So yeah, it's everything. In short, networking is like building relationship to your prospect, to your friends, and there are a lot of ways you can get friends, like in social media, neighbor, LinkedIn, Facebook. So don't be shy, approach them, but don't just provide your services. Build value, be proactive, communicate with them, and in the long run, you can build like referral with them if you do good, right? So
Yeah, I mean, let me show you a very common example that everyone in SEO knows. If you have
Okay.
anything like SEO on either your LinkedIn or your Facebook profile, you probably get 200 messages a month from
Oh
people
yeah.
trying to guest post or sell you
Yes.
links, right?
Mm.
Not a single of these people ever try to give any value, ever try
Oh
to build a
yeah.
connection. They're just like, "Hi, do you want to buy guest post?" Right?
Mm.
Like, I am very confident that the success rate is 0.0000 some percent, right?
I agree.
But here's the thing. If they were actually building value, right? Like I had a person reach out to once as a great example. He's like, "Hey, I was listening to this podcast episode. I thought it was so great. I ended up going translating it for you and not translating, doing a transcript for you, and here it is." And I was like, "Okay, I can take that. I could put that on my website as a downloadable," and I did that, right? But there was someone that did something going out of their way, showing they appreciated what I'd been doing, and gave me some value for free. Right now, I'm not saying go and do the same thing per se, but I'm saying like, how can you add some value to someone, right? Like, it's a great way to build connections, and yes, you can also say, oh well, you could spend all day, every day, just focusing on your thing, just chugging away at your thing, but reality is, if you have no network, if you know no people, you're very unlikely going to be successful, right? People will look at someone like Elon Musk and say, yeah, but Tesla have no marketing budget. They're doing it just by great product. And I
Mm.
can promise you one thing, if Elon Musk knew zero people, they would not be anywhere today, right? So just because he's not necessarily doing traditional marketing does not mean he doesn't have an absolute killer network, right? When
Oh,
he walked
awesome.
into Tesla with no marketing budget, he have 20 people he can call up and they will make things move for him, right? So yes, you don't necessarily need to spend all day every day on doing this, but reality is when you're looking at most businesses, when you're looking at the CEO of a company, right? From my point of view, when you get up to a certain level, your core focus is the mission, vision, values of the business. It's the high level strategic stuff along with building relationships, right? And sometimes that's strategic relationships. Like if you're selling a SaaS tool, for example, like that could be building strategic relationships with people who could help promote your product and you could promote theirs, for example. Like that's a good example of a strategic relationship, right? And as a CEO, like that's one of the things where you have a lot of pull that you can build relationships often faster than many of your staff. Now, you can definitely have great salespeople or the likes doing similar things, but as the CEO of particularly a larger company, you have a lot of benefit in doing that, right? So that's some of the key things. And I think fundamentally where people are missing out on networking is often being shy. It's often about hesitating, right? I have
I
a very
agree.
sim- I have a very simple rule. All you need to know, all you need to do, walk up to someone, put out your hand, say, "Hi, my name is Matt."
Mm.
And most people will just do the same thing. Say their name. And you don't have to have like overly smart things to say. You can literally ask, like, hey, why are you here? What brought you to this place? If you're doing it in a random coffee shop, it's like, hey, it's my first time. Do you like the place here? Or the other way around, say, hey, I come here all the time, but I haven't noticed you before. What brought you in here? Right? Like literally just simple human questions. Like, don't go into like, oh, what do you do? Like, are you gonna buy my shit? Right? Like, that is
Mm.
never, ever, ever the goal, right? Like, honestly, even people I talk to initially, like great prospects,
I guess Mads is uh not here. Yeah, while waiting for Mads to come back, so he said, "Don't be shy," and that's also the problem when going to networking events. A lot of people go there just to watch the expert leaders to talk, but they are very shy to communicate with them, and that's also one of the problem that we're going to fix. Last time when I met Mads during PipCon conference last 2022, I'm also shy because that's like my first time to meet Mads Singer, and I didn't expect that he's very good talking to someone, and also he's very a gentleman. We talked like a couple of minutes, and I was amazed. So last 2023 in my SEO conference, I talked with a lot of SEOs, leaders in the industry, and that's the first time I talked to them, like Matt Diggity, Ildar Cohen, and a lot of experts. And I'm very shy to be with uh, Matt Diggity because he's very intimidating, but I still talk to him, and he's very, very good in communication. He also responded to my questions and friend with them. And yeah, Mads is here. Here, okay, Mads is back. Thank you so much, Mads, for coming back. Appreciate it. So yeah, I lost you, but we have question from Ageless Beauty. What are some ways that managers can support the professional growth and well-being of their team members?
Sure. Number one, give them ownership and responsibility. So a lot of the time, particularly in online companies, they hear this thing, just figure out a process, hand it to someone, and let them do it, right? And
Mm,
yes, you can do that, but you always end up having to be the one at the end of the line dealing with the outcome, right? You benefit the most from really giving people ownership and really
ownership.
letting them own things and letting them be in a position where they, how do you say, like letting them be in a position where they have control of things. So as an entrepreneur, for example, if you say, hey, Kherk, I'm super busy, I need some help. I know you're great at talking to people, for example. I know you're great at writing. I want you to own our customer service, right? So don't be afraid to be a bit vulnerable. Don't be afraid to ask people for help, even as a boss. Yes, they're working for you and you pay them, therefore they should work for you. But that's not the point, right? The whole point is that you want to show people that you need them. You want to show people that they're important to you. If you tell people like, oh well, it doesn't really matter whatever you do, just follow this process, click the button, and whatever happens will be fine, right? Like that doesn't encourage people to take ownership to grow. When you actually show people responsibility, when you give them an area of responsibility and make it clear that it's for them to make sure that results are being delivered, that is for me the best way to help people grow, right?
Awesome. So take ownership of what you're doing. That's also a good thing that you can follow, guys. And we are following it at Outsource Sharks and Kherk Roldan SEO. And it can also help you grow on each or every department that you're into. And in our company, we also conduct weekly training so they can continue their learning. And also we have this monthly training with all the staff, and we also have this training for each of the department. We also cross train them. Let's say they are in the on page department, we cross train them to a different department on off page in content writing, so that let's say when they are absent for their content team, then someone can replace them to do their task, and so on and so forth. So thank you so much,
Yeah.
Matt, for
So
answering.
just adding one piece to that, right? It's great as a company to do trainings. Here's a key thing: success in life is not about necessarily being the best. It's
Mm-hmm.
being 1% better than the people around you, right? One of the key things when you're trying to encourage people to grow, what you're really trying to do as a business owner or as a manager is you're trying to encourage people to take ownership of their own growth. So more than just providing necessarily company training, like what you're
Mm-hmm.
really trying to do is you're trying to give people opportunities and you're trying to let people put in effort on their own to try and achieve things, right? Or to try and learn things. So if you, for example, look around your company, if you say, well, who's the leaders? So who's the managers in your business today? It's typically someone who came from a team and was then promoted to a manager. Now, why was that person promoted to a manager in front of someone else, right? Often that's just because they need to be just a tiny bit better than the second. They don't need to be the best in the world at management to be promoted to manager. They just need to be a tiny bit better than the second best, right?
Mm.
And a lot of that, like success in life, generally always come from taking initiative and from doing some of those things, right? So, like when I worked in the corporate world, like I spent a ton of time and effort on doing personal development. On like I got into management because I spent a lot of hours studying management, right? Like it's so easy for people to sit around and say, well, the company should train me on how to do it. I'm like, okay, you can think that, but here's the
Yep.
thing: the person getting promoted is the person most likely to get the best results. Now, if you're already knowledgeable about management, or if you're like, let's say you have a team of developers, like development often takes a long time, right? Now you're probably not going to pay people 2 years to learn how to be a developer. You probably need people who is a developer already or who knows how to do it. So, as an example, right? If I was in your company and I saw, well, I'm doing content, a developer's paid way more. I would love to learn that. Like you can say, hey, company, please pay me to train me. But the likelihood that they'll spend 2 years or however long it takes to train you, is not very high. But if you really want that, if you go and put in the effort and when you come home after work, you spend a little bit of time every day trying to learn how to develop. If you can take yourself just that bit closer, you are significantly more likely to get promoted, right? And this is the biggest thing. Like when you look at most people, they don't want to put in the effort it takes. Every time you look at people and they're like, oh, my boss asked me to do a little bit more, and I told him I want more money to do it. I'm like, no, it's the wrong mindset. When people
Yes.
give you opportunity to do more stuff, that means you
Mm.
get more responsibility. It means you learn more. And eventually, when you know more, you're more valuable to the company, right? But they're giving you an opportunity to learn and get paid at the same time, right?
Yeah.
And
Mm.
I saw it constantly in the corporate world, right? In Europe, like people are like, well, if I have to do more stuff, I need to have more money. I'm like,
Mm.
great, we'll get someone else to do it who want to do it, who want to learn. And then that person gets promoted because they actually learn the skills. And then when they have the skills, they then get promoted and then make more money, right? But just doing, I mean, it's different. If you're working extra hours, that's a different concept, right? But if your boss tells you or pay you to work 40 or 50 hours, if you do more things in that time, that is only a benefit for you, right? Like you're going to learn more, you're going to be capable of doing more, like putting pressure on yourself to learn things. Like
Mm.
people develop the most when they're under pressure, right? If any human look back in life, if they look back at the last 5 years and think, when did I learn the most? That's when you're under pressure, right? In the corporate world, when my boss or my managers gave me new challenges, like my thought was never, hey, I want to make more money, or hey, I'm too busy. My thought was very simple: I need
Yeah.
to figure out how to do all of this shit within the time I have so that I can learn more and grow more. And the more I learn, the more I grow, the more I get promoted, right?
Mm. That's the thing. It happened a lot in our company right now. So during the time you're going to change the position into the higher level, and some of them they don't have an interest in that position because some reasons they are afraid, they don't want to be challenged, they don't want to, but the only thing they want is to increase the salary, but they don't want to accept the offer. They're scared. And what maybe we need to train them more, or because here in our place only few people learn digital marketing or SEO when we first met them, so they're completely out of this thing, but along the way they learn how to do this stuff. So it's also matter with the culture, right, and also where they come from.
Yeah, I mean, I'm probably showing my age now, right? But like when I realized I wanted to get into management, like I don't know how to get there. Like I literally, one of my starting points was literally walk into a library and buy 20 books with the word leadership or management in them.
Wow.
Like that was literally, I didn't know where to start at the time. I did that. Like YouTube
Uh-huh.
wasn't a big thing, and you didn't have content everywhere.
Uh-huh.
Today, like anything you want to learn, anything you want to be is literally available
Yeah.
in front of you, like on your phone, on your computer. Like if there's something, if you're an employee or if you're a manager, if you're a business owner today, and you're like, I don't know email marketing. I would love to know it. Like there's
Mm.
so many free resources out there. right? There's so many. There's literally, I mean, maybe being an astronaut or something, you can't learn that, but literally pretty much any skill set that you're interested in learning, you can go and learn. And actually, I had a couple of good examples. Like I had a friend in the UK whose
Okay.
daughter was she was trying to become a doctor,
Mm.
and like most people in the early days, what she was doing was just following the education.
Mm.
And I spoke with her and I said, hey, well, if you really want to be a great doctor, why don't you start figuring out some of this stuff? Why don't you start like literally just seeing what other doctors are saying, right?
Yeah.
And
Mm.
the thing is, you don't need to know everything, but just her putting in a few hours every week
Mm.
to that could be seeing interviews or that could be seeing even trainings on how to do things and how to diagnose things. But she learned a bunch of stuff that most of her classmates didn't know. And it wasn't like she knew everything, but the teacher suddenly started talking about, I don't know, I'm giving random stupid examples here, but
Okay.
started
Okay.
talking about how to take temperature of someone, right? And if they've never learned that before, she was like, hey, I know that. I know blah, 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 blah,
Mm.
right? Okay, obviously I'm not a doctor, but if you take it to the world of SEO, for example, right? Like yeah, you can sit around and wait for your boss to tell you how to do something, but the most valuable employees, the people who succeed, are the people who try something, realize it didn't work, and then go and research on how to make it work, right? Like
Yeah.
I don't know your background story, but I can promise you one thing: the reason you're successful today is because you were forced into a situation, or you were in a situation where you had problems you were facing, you didn't know how to solve them, and you went and proactively figured out how to do it. Because here's
Wow.
the thing:
That's true.
every successful person develops that way. If you
Mm.
look at any successful business owner on the planet, that they were not developed, they didn't start in a company who were told exactly what to do and how to do it and just
Mm.
followed the script. Like the
Yeah.
way greatness is developed is learning how to figure shit out. And the thing is, when you first learn how to figure stuff out, it doesn't matter if you're like, I don't know, I'm not a particularly great chef. If I have to go and
Yeah.
figure out how to make a chocolate cake, right? Because I know how to learn. Like I can literally open a YouTube video. It's easy to tell myself, oh, I don't know how to bake. But I can
Yeah.
literally go and open a YouTube video right now, look at someone doing something, and just try and mirror what they're doing. And I can learn without having someone showing me exactly what to do.
I agree with that, and you're also correct when when saying that, because I'm a nurse, and why I'm doing this SEO stuff agency thing. So during the time I started doing SEO way back 2011, I don't know anything about SEO, but I said there in my resume, hire me because I'm an expert, even though I don't know anything in this craft. No, and then I learned from there. A few gurus, but there are also YouTube trainings that time. So I figured out all those things in SEO and learn from it. If I don't know anything in on page, I learn on page. If I don't know off page, I watch videos to learn this thing. And yeah, you are correct. Also, you can mirror someone else because there are a lot of SEO gurus right now or leadership like in Mad Singers. Or if you want to to be at the networking, you can join the SEO Summit Mastery, guys. That's a great conference that you can attend this April. So thank you so much for that, Mads. I'm going to answer questions here from. By the way, thank you so much for this great questions. We have 89 viewers from all over my Facebook page groups. Thank you so much, guys. So if you have any questions, drop it down here. Esther said that working nowadays has made AC via social media one positive advantage of social media platform. Good morning,
the, the, the,
watching
pro-
from
the,
San Juan.
the problem with social media is a lot of people do the initial work. They connect with people, they maybe comment here or there, but they don't take the next step, right?
Yeah.
Like here's the
Mm,
thing: if you have never messaged someone and say, hey, I love what you do, if you have 10 minutes for a quick chat, I would love to talk to you sometimes, I challenge you to try it. Like find something. It doesn't even have to be work related. Like if you're into
mm,
photography, if you're into whatever you're into, find someone who's doing some cool stuff. Just show them that it's important to you. Show them what they're doing is cool, and just ask them. Say, hey, I would love to have a 10-minute chat about how you paint your photos or how you take photographies or whatever. Right? Like I really, really challenge you, reach out to someone that you admire a little bit or someone that you see is doing some cool stuff. They don't have to be famous or whatever, but just reach out to one person and just say, hey, I would love a 10, 15-minute chat. Would you have the time to have a quick chat with me? And I mean, now that there's a couple of things that you can do, right? Like I've seen a couple of times where I mean, it's a bit spammy now because it's been done a lot of time. But the first time I saw it, I was blown away. Like there was this guy who reached out and said, "Hey, I bought lunch for us through this service. You know, can you have lunch with me on Wednesday?" And the concept was that it was some remote service where you could buy lunch everywhere in the country, and basically they would do a delivery lunch to both people, and they would typically be eating the same thing or whatever, right? But then you could basically have like a lunch meeting and yeah, talk about whatever you wanted to talk about. But that, like, when I first saw it, I'm like, that's freaking genius, right? Or like
Yeah.
even small things, like small physical gift, right? If you order a donut and get it ordered to someone's office or whatever, or their home, or I donut is probably a stupid example, but like something small, valuable, meaningful, and you say, hey, Kherk, I've been following your YouTube channel or your live streams. I really appreciate it. It's given me a ton of value. So I just wanted to send you a little thank you. And they send you that could be a T-shirt, that could be whatever, right? Like particularly if you can see something, like if they know, okay, Kherk's always wearing hats, for example, like send you a cool hat, right? Now
Yeah.
it doesn't mean you will wear it, but the fact that
Mm.
someone takes the effort to
Takes
figure out, okay, this person
effort.
likes hats, and
Yeah.
I appreciate what they've done for me, so I want to do
Mm.
something back. Like it doesn't have to be a big thing,
I
but
agree.
here's the thing: no one does it.
Yeah.
Like if you again,
Yeah.
you only need to be 1% better than the people around you, right? Or I mean, even if you're not as good as them, just a
Mm.
little bit of effort, a little bit of initiative. Because
Yeah.
I'll give you examples, right? Like I've coached a ton of people in my life. I've been mentor for a bunch of people, and here's the key thing: successful people like helping others when they're taking initiative. If I'm spending time pouring into someone and helping them and doing things, and then they go home and they do nothing, like my wish to keep pouring into them disappears very quickly, right? But when you have someone, if you give them a little bit and they take it and they go and do amazing things, you're much more eager to help them succeed, right? So it's all about initiative. It's all about doing those small steps, really to make a difference, right?
Right. Thank you so much for that, Mads. Appreciate it. From Elgin, how do you promote collaboration and team within your team or organization?
Yeah, really what I said earlier. So it's really about getting people to know each other. Again,
With people.
helping people take ownership
Take
by
ownership.
giving them ownership. Because
Yeah.
if someone have ownership, for example, if you tell someone, hey, I don't have the time to do customer service, I need you to do it, right? Instead of just saying, hey, here's a process, go do this thing, right? If you actually sit down with them and say, hey, I freaking need your help. I don't have the time, right? I really, really need your help. Like they're so much more likely gonna step up. They're so much more likely gonna take that extra initiative because they know you need help. They're
Yeah.
not just sitting, oh, I pressed these 7 buttons. I don't know. Button number 8 is not what it's supposed to be. What do I do? Right? They like even for people in teams, like the first step is ask your colleagues, right?
Mm.
Instead of always going bothering the person above you, try and take your initiative to ask someone else because someone else around you might know, right? Like, yeah.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. From Patricia, what incentives do you give for employee?
Um, Honestly, for me, it's about sharing them the incentive of
Share.
growing and developing. So what I mean with that is,
Wow.
if you talk with your staff on a regular basis, which I highly recommend you do,
Mm.
and not just conversations about the work, but like
Mm.
conversations about life, like what do you want in life? And if you share some of these things, if you share the importance of taking initiative, if you help them understand how to stand out, if you have like here's the thing, how to be a better husband.
Yeah.
It's very simple. Put in a little bit of effort. If someone is struggling in the relationship, here's the thing: most people blame everything around them instead of themselves. If they're having
Yeah.
a problem in their marriage, they blame their partner instead of saying, "Hey, what could I do better?"
Mm.
Right? Now, it's the same thing at work, right? If you're not delivering, if you're not performing, or if you're performing well but want to do better, simple first question is, what can I do better? And if you ever in any situation sit and say, there's nothing I could possibly do any better, you're either crazy or very disillusional, right? Like, whatever you're doing in life, anything, you can always do better, right? Like, I see so many parents, they're sitting around saying, oh, these people over there are so great parents. I ask them a simple question: what are you doing to become a better parent? And they're like, oh, well, I kind of given up. I'm not a good parent. I'm like, giving up, right? Like, parenting is not 0 to 100. You're not either suck or you're great.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
if you want the best with your kids, your goal is,
Mm.
how do I become a little bit better parent every month or every year, right? If you sit down and, like, let's say in your early years of having kids, if you sit down and read, let's say, one book a month about how to become a better parent, you will become a better parent, right? You will. Yes, can you learn from people around you? Sure. But the thing is, people don't know everything. Most people are doing the best they know how to do. So just
Yes.
because your mom is telling you, if this happened, do this thing, it doesn't mean it's always right. Right? They're saying the things that have worked for them, or they're saying what they think is the right choice. Right? If I ask you about SEO, like, you will tell me what you think the best solution is in a given situation. That doesn't mean you know everything. If I
Correct.
ask 5 people, I might get 5 different answers. Now, here's the thing: if I have a problem and I go and get 5 different answers, I can't just sit and say, "Oh, well, I don't know what the right answer is, so I give up." What I do as a smart human being is I look at those 5 answers and say, "Well, one, what logically makes the most sense to me? So of these 5 answers, what do I think makes the most sense?" I'm like, let me go and test that. And
Mm.
then I test that. I either get a good result or not so good result. And I maybe look at the second method and say, well, okay, I've tested this stuff. What's most likely to be the next thing that could work, right? And, like, that's the same thing in life. If you're struggling with a kid that's, I don't know, doesn't want to sleep, right? Like, when I was in the UK, I I know parents who couldn't get their kids to sleep at night. What did the parents do? They got frustrated and gave up. They're just like, yeah, whatever, right? Now, if I have a problem, if I have a kid that I can't get to sleep, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go on YouTube. I'm going to get some books. I'm going to get something around how to get my child to sleep. And if whatever I find as a result doesn't work, then I go and find more stuff
Mm.
because I want to learn how to get my kid to sleep well, right? And it's exactly the same. Like, I'm making this about kids because it's often easier to other people to relate to, but it's exactly the same thing in business, right? I have
Yeah.
people come to me and say, "Oh, I have this client. I don't know what to do." I'm like, "Go figure it out." Like, honestly, go figure it out. And they're like, "Oh, but how do I do that? I don't know where to start." I'm like, Google, YouTube.
You have
Like,
everything.
literally put it in. How do I do X?
Yeah.
And parenting is easier to relate to because a lot of people get in that situation in life, right? Not many people become an SEO or become a great
Mm.
SEO or whatever, right? That's not the goal. But so the thing is, everything can be learned. Your simple question, your simple focus as a individual is to be, how can I get a little bit better at this thing, right?
Yeah.
Like, I care a lot about my health. A lot of people say they care a lot about their health. Now, many people who care a lot about their health spend zero time learning about what to do with their health. Right? Here's the thing: at least once a year, I consume some more information to help me understand what's better for my body to eat, what's better for me to, what makes my brain sharper. Like, I understand that eating food is something I do every single day. Now, if I can eat food that makes me a better person, who makes me live longer, who makes me be healthier, well, the likelihood that I'll have a better life is higher, right? The amount of people out there who are doing things on a daily basis without thinking about how they're doing it, who wakes up every day and do things without trying to improve it, right? For you to be a great person, you don't need to go from zero to hero. if you just improve a little bit every day, every month, every year, however, whatever time frame you look at it, if you just consistently improve a little bit, you know, you become a way better human being. I am who I am today because I've learned a bunch of stuff in many different areas, right? Here's
Yeah.
the beautiful thing. A lot of people would disagree with me. A lot of
Mm.
people would disagree with a lot of stuff I say. And that's great. We have learned different things in different ways, right? Like events is a great example. Like when you look at Facebook and you talk about SEO event, some people would say, "Yeah, I never go to events and I'm successful, so therefore, going to events is a bad idea." Or the opposite. Like, I've had a lot of success with events, but you can make money without going to events. You absolutely can, right? Again, from a logical standpoint, my goal is to how can I get the most success at the shortest time possible. And for me personally, what I've found is have a skill, be good at something,
Be
have a
good.
product, have a service, do something, and develop that skill, right? And grow the value of that skill by knowing more people. Because again, if more people know what you're doing, like if you were Kherk sitting in Surigao and you were great at e-commerce SEO, but no one knew who you were or what you were doing, then
Mm.
being great at that, you could make money from it, but you would benefit significantly more if more people knew about it, right?
Yeah.
And I have the same. One of my absolute key things, like one of the things that I recommend all people to invest in, is learning public speaking.
Learning.
And this probably sounds scary as hell for most people, but here's the thing: public speaking for me is not about standing on a stage. Public speaking is about number one, learning to communicate better. As human beings, there's nothing we do more, there's no behavior we engage in more than communication. If you learn public speaking, you become a better communicator. And if you communicate better, you're going to get better results in every single area of your life.
Yeah.
You're going to have better relationships. You're going to have better friends. You're going to do better at work. You're going to do better at everything, right? If public speaking, it's about body language. Some people naturally use a lot of body language. Some people don't. Well, guess what? When you're standing on a stage in front of a bunch of people, you're going to get feedback on your body language and you're going to
Correct.
get better at it. Now,
Mm.
if you get better at body language, you can say, well, I don't care what people's body language look like. Here's the thing. Every time you communicate to another human being, their body language is important.
Yeah.
Now, it might not be that you're in the front of your mind say, oh, he did this with his arm when he said this, so therefore I don't believe him. But subconsciously, in every human being, the way the person across from you behave, the way they look at you, the way they express themselves when they're
Yeah.
communicating to you, that matters. And you learn that in public speaking. You learn how to be clear, succinct. Like if you have 5 minutes to communicate a particular thing, you need to figure out how to say something important in 5 minutes. Now, some people are naturally great at that. Some people ramble on forever. So again, like and public speaking, again, if you know something, if you have, you don't need to be the best at something. But if
Yeah.
you know something about something and you get to share it with other people, you will probably be a step ahead of them. And some people somewhere can learn something from it, right? So yes, you also learn from doing public speaking on its own. It's a fantastic way to build relationships. But the other benefits, like honestly, if I meet 100 people in business and I ask them, what have you ever done to improve your communication? The answer on 98 of them is nothing, right? Communication is the single most frequent behavior that we engage in as human beings, right? 98, probably 99% of the world population, probably more actually, do nothing to specifically try to improve this skill.
Mm.
It's probably if you want to be successful in anything, like I got successful in the business world and the corporate world in the first place because I'm a nerd. I know nerdy shit, right? I can talk with developers. I can talk with people who are sitting nerding around in gigantic Excel sheets. I can talk to them. I can understand what they're saying. The reason I succeeded in my early career was because I could take what these nerdy people were saying and I could translate it to people who weren't nerdy. Like in most companies, when you look at the nerds, the sales team, for example, and the developers, they can't talk. They can't
Yeah.
literally communicate. I could literally sit in the middle and I could help these people communicate with each other. And that made me incredibly valuable. When you look at most SEOs, they suck at talking to their clients. The number one reason why most SEOs are not successful is because they don't know how to communicate well
Yeah,
with their prospective clients.
I
If
agree.
you learn to communicate better, you will be more successful.
I agree. And also, we have SEOs that are here listening right now. And you are right. Some SEOs, they're only good in providing result doing SEO, but they're afraid or they don't know how to communicate with those prospects or clients. Instead, they can get more clients if they do that. But some of them, they don't outreach, right? They don't communicate well. So how can you leverage on getting client? That's
And
one of the problem.
here's the key thing. What I always say, like being smart is no benefit if it's no
Mm.
use. Like if you can't take what's in here and
Yeah.
explain it to
Put it.
someone else so that it's helpful for them, then knowing it is useless, right? And it's the same, like learning to take action. Like there's a lot of really smart people around that take no action, right? They know all the stuff. They're better. Like in the world of SEO, it's a big thing. When you
Mm.
look at people that when you look at Facebook discussions, there's so many smart people who will argue forever about is this or this the best way to do things. They will argue forever, but they make no money because they don't take the knowledge they have and go and implement somewhere.
Totally correct. Yes. Next question from Tata Mira has a total newbie asking about timeline in building strong SEO network from scratch.
So here's the thing, Tata. No one is doing it. If you go and build three relationships today, you're ahead of 99% of your colleagues. 98%,
Mm.
97% maybe. But here's the thing, you become in the top 5, 10% really, really quickly, right?
Wow.
And here's the thing, like I've seen people do this, I've known people who do this very successfully, right? I know people who wanted to learn, and it, you might not be in a life situation where you're capable of this, but I've seen a good few people reaching out to someone they admire and say, hey, I would love to learn from you. I'll be happy to work for you for free for 10 hours a week for the next 3 months just to see how you work and learn some things from you, right?
Yeah.
And like here's the thing, not everyone have time to do that, and not everyone have time to teach that. So not everyone's going to say yes. But here's the thing, you can build relationships that way. You can learn things that way, right? You can see how people are doing certain things. And I'm not saying necessarily go do this, but I'm saying if I was a newbie today, if I wanted to learn things,
Mm.
the three key things I would do is number one, I'll buy a domain somewhere and I'll figure
Mm.
out how to build a website, right? If you're getting into SEO right now, you don't have your own website, get one.
Okay.
And
You.
you don't need to spend money on links, you don't need to spend
Mm.
money on content, but literally just building a simple website will teach you a bunch of stuff. If you don't know what developers are going through, if you don't know how to talk with developers and explain to developers what you need, well, building a website, like you don't have to be a developer to build a website with WordPress, for example, right?
Yeah.
But just going through the motions of doing that, of figuring shit
Mm.
out, like you learn stuff, right? You
Correct.
see some of the challenges developers have, for example, and you
Mm.
you get yourself in a situation where you say, hey, I'm trying to do something, I don't know how to do it, well, let me Google it, let me YouTube it, and you will learn how to learn stuff, right? If you've never done that, it's a great learning experience, right? Here's
Awesome.
the thing, like if you're a newbie, find two other newbies and say, hey, I want to do this thing, I want to be successful, I want to make a ton of money from this thing. I want to find two other people who feel the same thing and who want to get on the phone with me 30 minutes a week or an hour a week,
Mm.
right?
Mm.
Just find a time every single week, get on the phone, say, what did you learn this week? What have you been working on? What are you working on? What are you working on? Uh, what are you doing? What are you learning? How are you growing? Right? If you do just that, if you find two other people in a similar situation of you that want to grow, right? Even if you're the smartest of the three, you're going to grow with these people, right? Now, obviously, again, you need to find people who want to grow, and unfortunately, that's not most people. But
Yeah.
if you do this, right, I promise you, even like I have masterminds, as we typically call these things, I have masterminds that I've been running for years. Like many of these masterminds is small groups, two, three people. Some of them we talk once a month, some of them we talk twice a month. But I have some people who know what I'm working on, that I'm very comfortable sharing the details of what I'm doing with, right? And the fact that it's not even just accountability, but it's the fact that I know that I can talk with them. When I'm hopelessly lost, I can talk with them and say, hey, have you been through this problem? Have you tried this thing? And they can share what worked for them, or they can share their thoughts. And reality is that, again, that alone, if you do that, you're in top, not 1%, you're in top 0.5% of humans on the planet and learning your skill if you do this, right?
Thank you so much for that, Mads. Another question from Ageless. Can you share effective ways to follow up and maintain relationship after networking events or interactions?
So in my early career, I would go down the very complex formula of setting up a spreadsheet, putting in all the cool people I knew, and
Mm,
literally putting in a column, say when was the last time I talked to them. And this worked for me really well until I knew. I say 100 cool people. What I mean with that is that, sometimes when you meet people, you just click, you just connect. It doesn't have to be people who are smarter or better. It's just 100 people that I like to stay in contact with, right? And I was really, yeah, I really just, and I wasn't super consistent at it. Sometimes I would go in, I would look at the sheet. I think I had a reminder every quarter or something. I would go in and I'll be like, oh, that's a couple of people. I didn't even need to talk to all of these people once a quarter, right? Like that was not
yeah.
the goal, but it was just having a list of people. So when I knew cool people, I wouldn't totally forget about them, right? And
Mm,
sometimes it was simply sending them an email and say, hey, I haven't talked to you for a while. I just wanted to let you know what's happening, and I hope you're great. And usually you get a mail back with the same sort of stuff. And sometimes it's a phone call. Again, different people prefer different things, right?
mm,
But sometimes it's a message. Sometimes it's going into their wall on Facebook and sending them a nice comment, right? Like it could be a lot of things. But um, one key thing is when we grow up, we're kind of giving the network that we have. Like your childhood friends were typically your childhood friends because you were in the same class or you were neighbors or you were whatever, right? As you grow older as a human being, sometimes those people are not necessarily the best for you. Sometimes they have a negative influence on your life. Sometimes they're holding you back. Sometimes whatever. When you go out and meet people, you have the sort of ownership of
ownership.
and the ability to decide who do you want to spend time with, right? And unfortunately, a lot of people aren't super critical, right? But like if you really want to be successful, and successful means different things to different people.
Mm,
Successful could be being a great dad or a mom.
mm,
Successful could be, making a lot of money. It could be
yeah.
having a lot of relationship. It could be having a lot of love in your life. So success can be anything. But if you want to be very successful in life, whatever that means to you, uh, really putting yourself in a situation where you are developing and where you are consistently choosing the people you spend time with. If you only spend time with the people who message you and you complain that your life isn't great, it's up to you, right? Like any human being can sit at home saying, oh, I can never find a girlfriend or a boyfriend. Oh, I'm never lucky. Oh, I'm never anything, right? Honestly, if you spend 30 minutes a day sitting watching TV, which most humans on this planet do, say they have no time, trust me, you have time, right?
Yeah.
Like the best choice I have ever made in my entire life was not, I moved away from home when I was 15
Mm,
and I didn't buy a TV. And that was literally the best thing that ever happened to me because if you look at the average amount of time, as an example, people
mm,
use every day to sit down and stare at TV. I'm not saying don't do it. What I'm saying is when you're 80, 90 years old and dying, you're not going to regret not having watched more TV,
yeah.
right? It won't happen. You won't be like, oh, God, I wish I watched another couple of movies or another couple of series. That is never going to happen.
Mm,
The things that you're going to regret is that you didn't spend more time with your loved ones, is that you didn't take certain initiative, it's that you didn't grow, it's that you didn't put in the effort, right? Those are the things that you're going to regret, if anything, right? So if you ever tell people you don't have time and you spend time every day watching TV, you're lying both to yourself and other people, right?
Mm.
Honestly, we all have time. I have time. I own 6 businesses. I have
Wow.
time. We have 24 hours a day, every single one of us. The
Mm.
most important things, the one thing I prioritize the most is to try and get 8 hours worth of sleep every night. Because I
Mm.
know if I get 8 hours worth of sleep, I am
You can do
more
everything.
likely to be the best version of myself.
Yeah. Wow. That's
Right?
great. That's great. And actually, it's correct because a lot of people they say I'm busy. I don't have time for this. I don't go to the birthday. I cannot go there. But the reality, you're right. They're maybe they don't have any interest or they you're not the priority. That's why
There's
they.
there's a big thing here, right? The thing is, if you're telling yourself I don't have the time, then you're wrong, right? What you want to tell yourself is this is not as important to me as doing this other thing,
Mm,
and therefore I'm not doing it. See, the big thing is, and this fundamentally, like from a mental standpoint, this is ridiculously important. When you tell yourself I don't have time, what you're telling yourself is you have no control.
mm,
When you're like you're letting things hit you and you have no control of it. When you say I prioritize not to go to this birthday party because I'm going to do this other thing, you're taking control. You're taking control of your life, and you're saying it's not that I don't have time. It is I am prioritizing. I am choosing to do work so
yeah.
I can take better care of my family, or so that I can grow and be more successful, so that I can whatever. But here's the thing: you have to develop a mindset of ownership, right?
Correct.
The only way you can fail in life is letting things happen to you, right? If you own things, like I take 100% control and ownership of anything around me. I will never use the sentence, this person did X to me.
Mm,
I would never say, Kurt, this did to me. I would never utter the sentence, because the second that I let people do things to me, I'm
mm,
not in control.
mm,
Here's the thing: if you do something that negatively impacts me, very simple, what happened is you did something.
yeah.
How I respond to that is 100% my choice, right? So let's take this interview as an example. Let's
Mm,
say you had not showed up today.
yeah.
I could be like, oh, Kurt's an asshole. He planned an interview. He
Mm,
didn't show up. Oh, him. I could also turn around and say, well, there was an interview planned. I showed up on time, so I definitely did a piece of my part. But maybe I
mm,
should have confirmed with Kherk that the interview was going ahead.
mm,
Maybe what else could I have done to
yeah.
make sure this happened,
Yeah.
right? So in life, if you learn to put yourself in a mindset of ownership, right? And I know there's a lot of very religious people in this world, right? I have the thing is, don't use religion as an excuse.
Mm,
I've seen people come back from an interview and say, God didn't want me to have that job. That's a lie. It is not God didn't want you to have the job.
mm,
One, there was someone who was better prepared or more skilled than you,
yeah.
right? That's the fact,
Mm,
right? There was someone who turned out to be better than you in that situation. You can blame God all you want, but if you
mm.
keep blaming God, you're never getting anywhere.
I
If you
agree.
look inside and say, well,
Mm,
okay, if that opportunity comes up again, how can I put myself in a situation where I am more likely to get the job? Well, you could prepare better. You could become better at the skill you're interviewing for. You could build better relationships, right? But if honestly, if you're blaming other people or God, or if you're blaming something that is not you on your misfortunes, you are significantly less likely to succeed, right? If your partner breaks up with you and you're blaming them for being an asshole, I mean, I used to be married, right?
Oh.
And my ex left me. Now I can blame her all day long. The only thing I could really do is saying, hey, how do I make sure this doesn't happen again? How do I become
Mm,
a better husband? How do I become a
mm,
better partner? How do I become a
mm,
better whatever? Right? That is the only thing. If I spend any time and effort on blaming other people, I am only letting myself down.
Totally correct. Totally correct. Yeah. So yeah, to those of you who's listening right now, it's very impactful and amazing. So guys, just blame ourselves, not others. All right. So we have question from Patricia. Do you have advice for newcomers to SEO to the SEO industry who are looking to establish their network and reputation?
Yeah, basically do what I said. Um, I'll recap very quickly.
Okay.
Um, Whatever it is you're trying to work on, find people who are doing it. Like if you look in sort of real life right now, there's a whole bunch of influencers who's
Mm,
building sites in real time.
mm,
Like there's a bunch of people out there who are sharing stuff they're doing in real time. Go and follow some of them. Look at what are they doing? Why are they doing it? And in the beginning, you don't understand anything. You can watch a YouTube video and you understand 5%.
yeah.
And then you go, some of the things that sound interesting, you go look them up and you get to know what it is. And next time you watch someone, you understand 10% or 20% or 30%. And the more you know, the more you understand. So that's the starting point. And then from a network standpoint, reach out.
Yeah.
Just tell people, right? Here's the thing. Most people, let's say on a YouTube video, most people who make YouTube videos go and read their comments. Now,
Mm,
there's a lot of comments saying, thank you, great work, great video, right? Whatever. If you can actually go and make a comment that is valuable, if you can go and say, hey, I loved how you were testing this out. I hadn't tried that before. I'm going to go try it and I'll come back here and let you know what happened after I tried it, right? Or you can say, hey, the way you thought about this was very different than how I thought about it. I love how you've changed my perspective. Like if you can actually give them some valuable feedback that explain to them why it's great, they will read the comment.
yeah.
Like there's people on Facebook who spend time writing some really valuable Facebook posts. If you
Mm,
go and comment on those posts and tell them how you gain value from it and say, hey, I actually tried this. It didn't work out for me, but the way you explained it, I'm gonna go try it again because it sounds like I can make it work somehow, right?
mm.
So literally just share and then connect with people, right?
Ne-
Reach out to people, like
Reach out,
comment on
connect.
people's stuff. Don't be afraid of saying, hey, I'm really impressed with what you're doing. I would love to have a 15-minute chat if you have the time. And here's the thing, people is very likely to say no. And so what,
Mm,
right? If I go and ask 10 people if they have 15 minutes, they might have other priorities that are more important, and that's great.
that's,
But
that's fine.
one or two of them might say yes.
Mm,
And then suddenly you have the ability to connect with someone. And yeah, so that I think sort of trying to summarize in not too
yeah.
long breath
Thank you.
my
Thank you for that,
my
Mads.
basic advice.
Yeah, Esther said knowing the right people can facilitate faster access to resources that might otherwise be difficult to obtain. Owning up to our mistakes provides an opportunity for learning and growth by recognizing what went wrong and why. We can gain valuable insight that help us avoid making similar mistakes in the future. And
See,
hey, William.
just a key comment to that last one, right?
Okay.
So again, it is so easy to blame other people.
Mm,
No matter how much something is someone else's fault, ask yourself a simple question: what could I have done for this to be less likely to happen? You can avoid everything, right? But
yes.
just think, even if 99% of it is someone else's fault, if there's one tiny thing you could have done different or that you would do different next time in a similar situation, think about that, right? Think about that.
Thank you. Thank you for that, Mads. William, unfortunately, 99% of people always blame others and most take no responsibility for. That's true. That's true.
Like,
Ah,
here's the thing, the reason why that happens is that there's not that many great role models out there, right?
mm,
There's not. Right? Reality is when you look at most people, like in the West, well, I'm not sure if it's the same in Asia, but in the West, we kind of have, we often call the current sort of generation very entitled, right? They expect things, they think they deserve things, and so on, right? The thing is, the best thing you can ever learn to do for yourself is take responsibility. It is
Thank you
looking
so much.
at yourself and saying, what could I have done different to get a better outcome?
Awesome. From Elgin, when is the schedule for SEO Mastery Summit and how to enroll, Sir Mads?
SEOmasterysummit.com. And yeah, it happens in April. So the main event is April 7 to 11 in Vietnam, in Saigon. So it's a flight away from Manila, at least. Um, and yeah, so that's the event. And yeah, we have a good
Yeah.
few Filipinos coming. So Kherk is definitely coming. We have Gene, that was the speaker last year, is coming again. We have a good crowd of Filipinos coming, and yeah, I'm always excited to see more.
Yeah, I added the link below, guys. So seomasterysummit.com. Check that out. This will be happening on April 7 to 11, 2024 in Ho Chi Minh City, Vietnam. And this is a 5-day in-person SEO event. So we can learn from top SEO experts, from mud singers, Corey, me as well. I represent Philippines and a lot more, guys. So don't be shy. Follow what Mud said earlier about the how you can network with other people, gain friends, relationship,
Here's
and
the thing.
yeah,
Actually, this is a great example. Look at the
mm,
live chat in this conversation right now. If you've been following, if you've been commenting, look at other people who have commented. Reach out to them and say, hey, I love this live chat, or I thought it was a horrible live chat. What do you think? Right?
yeah.
Um, Literally do that. Right? I've done that multiple times when I've been sitting through trainings or something. Like, actually reach out, because I know I'm trying to learn something. Someone else is trying to learn the same thing. It could probably benefit from knowing each other, right? If we're trying to learn the same thing, great.
Thank you for that. Okay, so yeah, I have like two questions because I know it's also lunch there. I believe it's almost
10, 10,
what time
15.
there?
So
10:15. Okay.
all good.
All right. So, what are some strategies for effective communication that you can uh, share for us?
Number one, find the closest Toastmaster.org club to you. That is definitely a life changer. In terms of effective communication, like I utilize a behavior framework called DISC, and
This.
actually, let me add a cool link here. So
Okay.
we actually have a tool around personalities. Oh, I can't add it in. Maybe you can do that. But
You
it's
can
called
send a via
Hey
private
Ramp.
chat.
Okay, so
Okay.
heyramp.com, that one here. Um, hey Ramp, you can go in, you can actually sign up. You can get a free personality test if you haven't done it yet. So we gave it away when I was speaking at the event in Manila. We gave the free test away. You can actually go and sign up for the tool as a 3 month free trial and so on. So you can go sign up for the tool, and you can do, amongst other, a personality test for yourself, get to know yourself better, and you can get some more insight to how you communicate and how other people around you might communicate. So you can actually assess people around you, um, and seeing how they communicate and so on, and you can learn that communication fundamentally. If the single most simple communication hack you can do, if let's say in person or even online, right, is look at what is the other person doing. If you're talking to a person, if you meet a person at a networking event that's like super hiding and looks super shy, if you're like, oh, how's it going? If you're super out here, you're going to scare them. So the simplest way to communicate more effectively with another human being is trying to mirror how they're communicating. If their volume of voice is very loud, try and increase your volume of voice. If they're
Mm,
consistently keeping eye contact with you, try and consistently keep eye contact with them, right?
mm,
If the simplest way of, and people are like, oh, but that's manipulating people. I'm like, no. If you
mm,
want people to understand what you're saying, the best way to do that is communicating in the way they communicate,
Yeah.
right? And body language is communication. It's not about manipulation. It is
Correct.
about communication. If you communicate a way someone else do, that is by far the simplest way. The same thing, even if you look at emails, a lot of people, if you get a long ass email like that and you answer it with a one line answer, you're communicating very, very differently than the
Mm,
person writing to you. Now,
mm.
same thing. If you get a one line email and you answer with a chunk of text, you're communicating very differently from the person who communicated to you, right? Look at what is the other person or the other people doing and try and do more like that.
Thank you, Mads, for that. Question from Elgin. I'm handling SEO agency team right now. How do you handle stress and pressure as a manager?
And two simple solutions. Number one, take 100% ownership. And
Or,
number two, learn how to delegate. So the
mm,
problem is
delegation.
most people are doing it all themselves. Most people, they're not giving out responsibility, they're giving tasks. So they end up becoming spider in the middle. When they have a team of 5 people, everything go back to them for checking. Everything goes to them. And that means when they start hiring a team, they just get even more to do. Like, yes, they get more done, but they also, their job also just expand and they become the bottleneck. Whenever you're the bottleneck at anything in your company, you want to think about, it might not be that you have a replacement right now, but you want to think about who can do this in the future. So when you're very busy, so again, key things is number one is, are you doing the right things? Most people are very busy doing a lot of things,
Mm,
but they're very often not doing the right things. And really, business and management in general is about how to learn how to do the right things. In other words, prioritization. Most people just write things that could be cool to do, or things that could be good to do down on a list somewhere, and they start from the top and they just go through like hundreds of things. Now, reality is, from a business and a life perspective, the question is, what is the right things to do? When you look at most SEOs, they have a list of 100 things to do every time they buy a new website or every time they build a new website. Here's the thing, there's probably 3 or 5 of those things that give you 90% of the result.
yeah.
It often doesn't make sense to do 100% of the things 100% of the time. The fundamental question to you is, if you're very busy and you're very stressed, what are the things that are, one, most important to do? And the second thing to think about, what are the things you're not doing?
Mm,
A lot of the time when people are very busy, one, they delegate worse, they try and do it all themselves, right? And that just creates sort of a bad trip, right? Where you make things worse and worse and worse and worse for yourself, right? So the fundamental thing is really about delegation. So you take ownership. So don't blame other people, whatever. Take ownership and then learn how to delegate, learn how to grow, learn how to give other people responsibility. And here's the thing: if you have people and you are delegating, one, you might not be doing it the right way. And here, if you don't know what to do, I'll bet you there's a whole pile of YouTube videos, right? You'll probably find a lot of my stuff, but even if it's not my stuff, there's a whole bunch of other people who talk about it as well, right?
mm,
So again, if you're in a difficult spot, if you realize that you need to delegate better, if you once every Sunday spend 1 hour, or let's say every Sunday for the next month, you spend 1 hour sitting down watching YouTube videos about how to delegate better, I can promise you in a month, you will learn new things, you will get better at it.
awesome. Thank you so much for that, Mads. I know I take your time a lot right now, 1 and 30 minutes. So
All
before
good.
we end, what is the best way to reach out to you? How can our viewers connect with you? Or maybe you have something to promote and share?
Yeah, you can definitely follow me on Facebook. I usually bump into this 5,000 people problem, but else LinkedIn is great as well. So follow me on Facebook. Um, Feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn, and you can always check what I'm doing on mattsingers.com. We always
Madsingers.com.
do. lots of fun management stuff. Honestly, when I look at management, and this might sound harsh, but a lot of it is a little bit like being a kindergarten teacher, right?
Mm,
It's not about saying people are kids per se, but really when you're a kindergarten teacher, you're encouraging kids to do things, you're encouraging kids to try new things. And this is really what you do as a leader and a manager as well, a lot of the time, right? Like your goal fundamentally is to not do all the things, is encourage other people around you to learn how to do the things so that you don't have to, right?
mm.
And it carries a remarkable semblance. And often what you'll find is that a lot of teachers makes really, really good managers.
Wow, thank you so much for your last message, Mats. Thank you so much for being on the show. I really appreciate it. And of course, for sharing your time with us. A lot of information and learning as well. We really love it. And I hope to see you soon, Mads. Thank you so much for your time. Have a great day. Ha-
Thank you,
Thank you.
guys.
Take care. Thank
Great
you,
day.
guys. Mads, thank you.